Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Welcome, guys, to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. And oh my goodness, do I have a treat for you. Now, today we have an author, a speaker, consultant, Joanna Brandi, who has been doing this for 33 years. She's been teaching hundreds of companies of all sizes to keep their customers coming back with money and friends. She has been keenly aware of the role of happy employees. Happy employees play a mix in the entire business because we all know it makes a tremendous difference when your employees are happy. Now, we know there is a direct connection between happy employees and productivity, which all business owners need. Now, according to the latest research, while 87% of CEOs recognize the power of the bottom line results of more happiness at work, guess what? Only 37% actually have strategic plans to use it. Shocking. Now, as a happiness coach, Joanna has been teaching companies how to use positivity psychology at the workplace as a competitive advantage. And today, guess what? That's what we're going to be talking about, because all business owners need to know how to do this and actually implement it. So please welcome on stage Joanna Brandi. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here.
And I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No worries.
What just happened? My camera just did something really strange, and I'm not going to fuss with it.
It is what it is, right?
It is what it is. You got a little bit more view than I wanted you to have, but it's okay.
Awesome. Now, Brandi, one of the questions that I guess people are always asking, people are always wondering, right? Like, how did you get to the position that you're in today? How did you build this business? Because we all know it doesn't happen overnight.
Right. You know, it was very organic. I was working for a large technology publishing company in New York. Excuse me. I ran their direct marketing division. I've been there for quite a while. And you know how you just know when it's time for you to leave a situation?
Yes.
You start getting those nudges. You're not quite as happy. And I'd done what I had set out to do there. I developed an amazing team. And my team was getting antsy because it was really time for them to take over. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. So here's what I did. I called my customers, who by then knew me really well. And I said, you probably know me better than anybody else. What do I do best? Which is actually a question we use in positive psychology. Who knew?
Right.
So I asked that question, and they all said the same thing. You take better care of your customers than anybody in the industry, and you've been setting customer service standards without even knowing it. So go teach people how to take care of their customers. So off I went. It could have had a little bit more thought to it, I must say, in retrospect. It wasn't well thought out, but it's what I knew I needed to do, because that's what everybody told me. And so I started studying. And I also analyzed what I had been doing right. Those conversations continued. And so from there, I just honestly listened to my customers, because I developed training programs. I started a newsletter from the first day that I was there. Wow. It was called A Different Angle. And I took a different angle on direct marketing and what I had been teaching. And every time the client would say, that was great. What do you have? What else do you have? And I would just say, well, what do you need?
Ooh.
And they would tell me, and then I'd go, I can have that for you. I never lied, but so over the years, I kept developing programs on teamwork, on communication.
Wow.
Every time a client said they needed something, most of us entrepreneurs do that, you know that. Right. And so I developed a reputation. I started writing books. My first book was called Winning at Customer Retention, 101 Ways to Keep Them Happy, Keep Them Loyal, and Keep them coming back. And that's the phrase I still use. And from there, I have to tell you this, being inside of hundreds of companies as a consultant, it was very easy to see what the problems were. and they all took me to the corner office. It was always a leadership problem. These people on the telephones, these people on the internet, these people that were dealing with the customers very often got frustrated because they didn't have what they need. No. They didn't have encouragements from their boss. They didn't have, and because I had such a hands-on experience with it, I knew what to develop. So I started developing leadership programs. So when I said it's organic, it's organic.
Right.
I have a client right now who's asked me to become his dream manager. It's one thing that he wants to give to his people, the support they need to meet all their dreams in life. So you forget, what the hell, I'm not a dream manager, but I'm a happiness coach. I think I can manage that. I think a lot, I've been influenced a lot by positive psychology because 20 years ago, I met Dr. Martin Seligman, who's the founding father. And I studied with him, and it was like a bolt of lightning went through my head the first time I heard him speak.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I look for the signs, Kay. I look for the signs.
Yeah, you do. And you know what? Like, I've got so many questions in what you just said now, right?
I'll be quiet for a while.
Do you know, I love it though. It's awesome because first of all, the first thing that really stuck out is you did something that not a lot of people do in the beginning when they know that they're in this run, in this situation that they don't want to be in, right? You went and asked your customers at what you're good at, because so many of us get into our own heads and try and figure it all out ourselves. But you decided that no, the quickest way to figure this out is to ask the customer. So my first question is this: how did you realize that was what you needed to do when there's so many of us trying to figure that out?
Well, I think I ran out of ideas. I think really that's it, because I thought I wanted to be in the database business. I found a partner. I tried to buy a database company because I was all about the data at the time.
Right.
And I just ran out of ideas. And I guess I just said, who would know best?
Right.
And that's what showed up is call your customers. And, after, what was it, 15, how many years I was there, they knew me best.
Yeah.
We did, back in those days, we did a lot of conventions, a lot of hospitality suites, a lot of dancing together, a lot of drinking together. Not that I'm saying that that's the way, but we had those kinds of relationships where we talked late into the night. So I knew they just knew more about me. They'd been through a divorce with me. They'd been through, all of the stuff a single mother goes through. I felt very close to them. So I guess I just went to the people that I thought would know, and they did know. That's what's wild.
Absolutely. And you know what I also like? The fact that you're going to your audience, the people that matter, the people that will buy from you, essentially, right? And again, like there's so many of us, I guess, people that are starting up or scaling, and they're doing their branding and their logo, and they're trying to figure out, should I do it this way or should I do it this color or that color? Well, instead of you trying to figure it out, just go and ask your customers, your ideal clients, which one do they prefer, right? Because you're selling to them, not yourself. You're not your buyer, right? They are. So what you did was genius, right? That was absolutely.
I'll take it. Thank you.
And that's. Go ahead.
Here's the very funny part. One of the first exercises that you'll do if you study positive psychology is a best self exercise. And you do exactly that. And you should try it. You send an email out to about 10 people that you know and who know you well, and ask the question, when you see me at my best, what do you see? So it actually exists now, but positive psychology didn't exist then.
I see. Interesting. I love that. And I'm going to actually try it out. That's actually be really insightful as to what people perceive you as, right? Versus what you see yourself as. That's pretty strong. Awesome. Now, the other thing that really points out to what you already mentioned is that once you got this intel, right, you just started doing stuff, right? You were saying that maybe it wasn't the right thing and I should have put more thought. But do you know what, Joanna? What I really loved is that you just took action. You took action, right? And you learned what I should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, right? As you were doing it, you didn't wait until to perfect it before you went out there.
Right.
And again, as business owners, That's what they tend to do. Want to perfect everything before
No.
you take any action. And we know that's not the way to do things. We learn quicker. Our businesses will be scalable at a quicker rate, built at a quicker rate, if we just take action. Forget about failing, right? And taking the wrong moves. We just need to just take that first leap and just do it. And that speaks volumes regards to the type of person you are, right? Hence being a happiness coach now, because you did, I guess, what was your calling at the time. Whatever pulled you, you just went ahead and did it, and you didn't have no fear regardless of would this work, would this not work. You just found out.
I can't say I had no fear, but I think in the beginning I was oblivious to it. It crept in after a while. I mean, there have been times. In fact, I'm trying to clarify that now. I'm in the middle of writing a post, an email for my list. And that's the topic I want to be talking about is fear and how we talk to ourselves about fear.
Right.
You know what? Everything in the world boils down to communication.
Yes.
So how we talk to ourselves is really, really important. I'm NLP trained, but I'm trained such a long time ago that sometimes even I forget.
It happens. We're humans, right?
Yes.
It's the best of us.
Yes.
Awesome.
So let's talk about happiness at work, because the topic I think is so important. I was on the phone the other day with a young cousin of mine who was so incredibly miserable at her job. And one day she finally got fed up and just quit. Now, I don't talk to her very often, but I see her Facebook feed. And on Fridays, especially. So I was able to read into that. And she finally quit her job. And you know what happened? Her marriage improved. Her health improved magnificently. She had psoriatic arthritis. She had all kinds of stuff, all because she worked in a toxic environment where all day long she felt trapped, she felt beat up, and it eventually made her sick. And I think I know that's what's happening. The Surgeon General is telling us that people are really sick emotionally and physically because of toxic workplaces. So my drive comes from, how do we clean up? It's like cleaning up a dump of cultures where they're abusive. They're abusive cultures.
Yes, there are definitely. I totally agree with that. Okay, so let's get into more depth regards to implementing happiness in the workplace, right? Because if you're just not happy, how can you force yourself to be happy?
That's the problem with the word, Kay. That's the problem. And it's also my problem, because I'm maybe not saying it right. I'm a happiness coach. I'm a chief happiness officer and certified to be one. But it depends on how people think about happiness. It's leaders. I teach positive leadership. So I teach leaders to be appreciative of their people. I teach leaders with actual skills how to create more of an environment of recognition, of gratitude, of looking for somebody's strengths and then commenting on their strengths. So it's cultural. It's creating a culture where people feel free to move out of their comfort zone. Many of us move out of our comfort zones anyway, as you've heard. It doesn't matter whether, what's waiting on the other side. But most people, when they get, as I see, comfort zone is this round thing, when they get to the border of their comfort zone, if they're not encouraged in a loving way to get over their fears and get out of that comfort zone, they're not going to move. And you can't grow your company unless people are growing their comfort zones. So I teach a way for leaders, for managers and leaders, to create the kind of environment where people feel good about themselves and that manager's presence, where they like coming to work because they know work is a place where their energy is going to expand I call it energy gaining and energy draining. Are you creating a culture that's energy gaining? So when I go home at night, I have time for my kids. I have space for my kids. I've got love left over for my kids. I worked in an environment, well, I won't call it toxic because it wasn't toxic, but there were certain things that went on in that. It was an overachiever environment.
Ah.
We look at that in the American culture. We look at that as, wow, what do we call it?
Right.
Unicorns and this. But you know what? While the leaders are going on and on about the next goal and the next goal and the next goal, the workers are exhausted. They go home at night. There's nothing left over for those kids. There's nothing left over for hobbies. There's nothing left over for families. So we're draining people and draining people and draining people. 97% of all the stress out there, all the illness out there comes from stress. And a huge portion of the stress comes from a work environment that's not nourishing. So these are nourishing environments. But you know what? These are hard. This is kind of hard to sell because, people can find the pain and sell to the pain.
Right.
All of that. But sometimes the pain doesn't belong to the business. The pain belongs to the people that work in the business. So we need to make people more aware. Do a survey, find out how your people are feeling. Find out do they have energy when they go home at night? Do they feel a sense of pride in their work? Are they excelling? Because, here's how we have to get rid of the happiness thing.
Right.
Happiness is not a vague feeling. It's a state of body-mind. So when you're in a state of happiness, your brain patterns are different. Your heart patterns are different. Your hormonal patterns are different. When you are happy, we're sitting here, we're happy, we're talking, we're in a positive state. Maybe the word happy is, maybe it's the wrong word. We're in a positive state. Our bodies are producing chemicals that help us activate our parasympathetic nerve. I'm kind of sorry about the hands. I'm Italian. This is
no, listen.
Talking on Zoom is so hard. Our bodies activate dopamine and our bodies activate serotonin, which is the rest and digest hormone. And our bodies activate oxytocin, which is the tend and befriend chemical. So when we are in a positive state, our bodies produce the chemicals that put us in parasympathetic mode, which is our body's natural healing system. You don't need drugs. You just need to turn on your parasympathetic nervous system. And when we're not there, yes, we have fight or flight. We have the cortisol, we have the adrenaline, and that's great for short periods of time. Mm-hmm. But what's happened in the American business culture is that we live in adrenaline. Keep going, bigger goals. And the human system isn't built for that. So the human system breaks.
I see. Now, you said a lot of stuff there, right? Great
I'll
stuff.
let you unpack it.
But there's so much golden nuggets right there, right? But then the question is, you've worked with so many different companies, right? When they're in that state, go, 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 and that's all they know, and that's all they've done. How do you, Joanna, break them out of that and help them understand that their employees that are doing all the work are drained and that they need to change that habit?
Well, it depends on how I'm engaged with them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the people, I speak for Vistage, which is the world's largest CEO organization. So a lot of times by the time a CEO I spend 3 hours with them. So they know what I'm about. And if they do hire me, and I must say they don't always hire you, but if they do hire you, they know what they're in for, in the sense that I use a model of creating positive relationships and positive communication and positive meaning. So they know I'm going to take them through a model. Yeah. And they also know that I'm going to ask them to do certain things in there because they have to model it. So I'm going to ask them to do certain things in their own lives that could take them a little out of their comfort zone.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're not just focusing on business, but other aspects of their lives as well.
I don't really focus on other aspects of their lives. I'm focused on the person that shows up at work. Are they stressed when they walk in the door? Do they know what to do with the stress? I find some CEOs, for instance, they don't meditate. They're just too busy. My mind is too busy,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that case, I'm teaching them small, bite-sized practices to still the mind.
Wait, okay, so let's talk about that because I feel like
Okay.
everyone struggles with this, right?
Yeah,
In
I know.
stopping the mind, especially the business owners, and they go, go, go. And most of them seem to be that way, right?
Yeah.
Where would you even start with something like that? And, you know, bringing peace in the mind and meditating. How does that even work?
You start with the breath.
Ah,
And you start with shifting. And everybody that has worked with me, even if they've only just seen me speak and hasn't hired me, I got them all doing the same thing. You take your hand, you
right.
put it on your heart. So you're signaling your body. Good, thank you. You're signaling your body to start producing more oxytocin, which is that endorphin chemical. And then you breathe a little bit more slowly. Breathe a little bit more deep. And then think of something that you really appreciate. It could be chocolate ice cream. It could be your favorite puppy. It could be the sunset. It could be the 4th of July fireworks. It doesn't matter. Think of something that you really appreciate and keep yourself in that state for about 20 seconds.
Okay.
Do you feel a shift?
A lot calmer.
There you go.
Right?
First step.
Yes, but what I'm also realizing here is that you got to be willing to want to do this. If you're going to be fighting it, it's not going to work.
Exactly right. Yeah. I have found, I used to do a lot of stage speaking. And for many years, I worked with Inc. magazine, and they put me on stages all around the country. And then I, give people my business cards, or actually take their business cards. And I get calls all the time. My customer service is broken. For years and years, I was mopping up the mess after they've lost their first customer or their second customer or whatever. And one day I just declared out loud, stop sending me broken people. Because their cultures were so broken that it was a complete overhaul. And they would fight me when I help companies also understand what their values are. And especially now that we're after COVID, that we're partially remote and things like that, I have a system for getting everybody involved who wants to be involved in creating a set of sustainable values, and they're defined and they're connected to behaviors. And when you try to do that in a company that really doesn't want to do it, it's painful. It was painful for me. So I declared, stop sending me broken people. Now, business slowed down quite a bit because I mostly had broken people. But now I work with people that aspire.
Yes.
People that want to be better. People that want to take the best care of the customers. And people that are smart enough to realize that taking the best care of your customers is the best competitive advantage.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Now, I would love to talk a little bit about some of the results that you have brought your clients out, where they were at before, and then where they were at once you finish working with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, when people measure, that's easy. So when people are measuring their customers' results, we've got surveys going and things like that. It's a lagging indicator. So you need to be in a project for many months before you start seeing changes.
Right.
I want to tell you what the most stunning results are.
Okay, please.
The not too measurable, but in my way of thinking, the most important.
Okay.
People's home lives change. And the young leaders that I'm working with, and I prefer young leaders. They're a little bit more. Mm-hmm. I'm not butting up against the old paradigms.
Okay, so they're a lot more coachable.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
They're a lot more open. I've had people my age, shall I say male, I'll just say many male CEOs that are closer to my age that really bump up against it, because in their mind, if I praise my people more, I have to pay them more.
Oh.
Now I'm teaching what's called the high performance positivity ratio. So what I'm teaching people is that if you want a minimum to happen, you need to give 3 times more of the positive than the negative. But if you are looking for high performance, and those are the companies I look for, you've got to do 5 to 1. So people get very nervous because what they hear is, oh my God, I have to say something nice to everybody all day long. That's what they hear. But there are ways to do that. When I talk to people that I work with over a period of time, and that's my preference, is to work in a 12-week container that, starts something new, but in that 12-week container, people start telling me that my husband responds to me differently. My wife responds to me differently. I'm getting along with my kids better because I'm all about the tools and the practices. So they're not saying at the end of the day to the kids anymore, how was school today? They're going, so tell me, what are you most proud of today? So it's shifting their relationship with all the people in their lives, not just their customers. And I think for me, I know that there is not a specific way to monetize that. But given my own experience of coming home so exhausted,
yes,
that I didn't have, I had no energy. I had a blended family at the time. And it was like, oh, who the hell has energy for these people at the end of the day? Because all of my energy went, of course, now I can look back on, I can see what I did wrong. I can see what the culture I was in did wrong. It's very easy in hindsight to see that. But I think I'm very driven to do this because I really want that effect. When I was teaching an Inc. 500 software company years ago, and I was teaching them very specifically neurolinguistic skills and understanding their own systems. And it was like a 3-day seminar. And on day 2, one of the young men just sat there. I remember this software, very technical people. He was practically in tears. He said, I went home last night, and I think this is the first time I've ever really understood my wife.
Oh, wow.
Like, wow. You know what? Think about it. Where do we actually learn interpersonal communication skills? At the kitchen table when we're kids?
Right.
We're exposed to communication our whole life. I went to Catholic schools. You can't count that as communication skills. You get yelled at. I come from an Italian family. We got yelled at. That's not communicating. That's not conscious communication. So as my own life evolved, and as I dealt with my own issues, I've got PTSD in my background. So as I deal with my own issues, I just learn more and more and more about how to deal with people and how to communicate with myself. But when you think about it, unless you go out of your way to purchase a course, and now, of course, it's easy because everything's on the internet, but unless you go out of your way, you're going to sit in this little circle your whole life of how you learned how to communicate at home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. Oh my goodness. Now, Joanna, I know at this point, people are thinking, oh my goodness, I need to get to know Joanna a little bit more to find out what else she does and how she can help me. So where can people go to connect with you?
All over the place. I think I sent you all my links. I'm on LinkedIn. Joanna Brandi, easy name, but there's an I at the end of Brandi. They can go to my website, returnonhappiness.com.
Nice.
Okay. And if they go to returnonhappiness.com/happy place, I have a special report on how to make your workplace a happy place.
Oh, fantastic.
All different things, very doable, no cost to it. Just go and do that. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on YouTube. Joanna'sTransformative. I have a YouTube channel.
Fantastic.
I'm out there. I probably don't do as much as people half my age, but I'm doing what I'm comfortable doing,
Fantastic, fantastic. Oh my goodness, I love that. Now, guys, go ahead, connect with Joanna. Go and find out what else she's doing. Go download that report, right? Go and implement it into your business right now and see the difference that it can make for you. Joanna, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Like, so many golden nuggets in such a short amount of time. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's always fun. This for me is so much fun. So thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. It was fun having you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.